Greetings world. Today I wanted to share, as always, something that came up when I was on the mat. And today's conversation is about the things we inherit, because it actually just struck me that some of us inherit generational wounds and some of us inherit generational wealth. And perhaps it's a time that we can talk about the difference. How did I even get to this point? I was just looking at my bank balance and what little is left in there. And I heard myself say, I wish my mother had more money. I wish I came from a family with money. And then I realized that actually the things that you inherit can limit you, but also they can liberate you, right? So I then arrived at for those of us who've inherited wealth, how has that enabled us? And for those of us who've inherited wounds, how are we going to work through those wounds? So let's have a conversation for 2 seconds. What do I mean by wounds? Wounds aren't always the things that we can see. Some of these are emotional, and some we don't even know we have because we haven't defined them as wounds. But essentially, it's about trying to gain understanding of what are the things that are yours and the things that you found here. Of the things that you found here, what do you want to put down and what do you want to take with you? It isn't helpful, for example, if you're born into a family of just females only, who may have had horrible experiences with men, like some of my aunts have, and who'll go, men are useless, and you buy that, because that's not your story, that's their story. Then you're inheriting their wounds, and you have no business doing that because you've got your own wounds to deal with. Life is long. And for those of us who've inherited wealth, that conversation is still the same. Is it going to keep you encouraged and energized, or is it going to make you lazy because you don't have to do the hard work? So as you go on with your own reflection, I guess the point I'm making with this sharing today is understand the wounds that aren't yours to carry and leave those aside. Because yes, your aunt may have been disappointed by an uncle she divorced many moons ago, but it is not true that all people will break your heart. So then don't take on that wound because it is not yours to carry. But I also know something else about wounds is that they're much like, physical wounds and emotional wounds are quite the same. Because if it were a physical wound, right, you would still have to peel the plaster off to expose that wound to the elements, the sun, the stars, the wind, the air, and everything around it, because only then can it form a scab, and then the scab falls off and it becomes a scar, and the scar then tells us of all the things that you've overcome. So in working through whatever place and space you are calling wounded, I'm hoping that you'll also find an outlet to expose it to the elements that will bring you healing. For me, that healing has been therapy. Sometimes it's champagne, sometimes it's conversation, sometimes it's all of the above, and sometimes it's just journaling and sharing with you, such as I'm doing today. For those of us who've inherited generational wealth, whether you define it in money terms or love terms or acceptance terms, I hope that you'd recognize the gift and use that wealth not only to cultivate more wealth for yourself, but to find a way to be of purpose to others, so that they're also enriched by the gifts that came before you got here. So that's it. What did you inherit? Wounds or wealth? And what you're going to do about it? Whatever you choose to do, as always, I wish you clarity so you know what to do, and courage to follow through with what surfaces as the next best thing for you. Until next time, namaste.